I have been a student of English for 66 years. And I started to use English professionally when I was second year in high school. Now, this may sound a chauvinistic statement, but in my view, Japanese is a very unique language which fuses or which combines, integrates kanji, which is an analog language system, and hiragana and katakana, which is basically a digital language system. And both have its merits and demerits. But I think English has become the de facto world language, not because, in my view, not because English is linguistically superior to Japanese, but mainly for economic and political reasons. The biggest reason being the United States emergence and existence of the United States of America, and second, perhaps, the legacy of the British Empire, and so on and so on. Now, so when you look at kanji as a picture, you can grasp the whole meaning and its entirety in a flash. But in English or in digital language, when it's a beauty, you say B-E, dots, dot, 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 several dots. But in the beauty, it's difficult to learn, difficult to write, but you can catch it in a flash, in a moment. My question is, how can the merits of these merits of Japanese language be used to its fullest advantage in years to come? And how, when you compare English with Japanese, from your experience, what are the advantages of the Japanese language and perhaps the disadvantages, if there are any, compared with digital languages such as English? Thank you.
I think every language that one approaches for the first time has many difficulties. Things that you assume must be true of every language prove not to be true of all languages, that there are differences of every kind. With respect to the writing of Japanese, I myself found this attractive. I like learning kanji. It was like when I was a boy, I collected postage stamps, and I liked getting a stamp and pasting it in an album. This was something I learned. I pasted it. This time I pasted the kanji in my head somewhere. When I got enough kanji together, it was like getting a complete set of stamps from some country. It was acquiring knowledge, which was somewhat difficult to overcome, but it was also exciting. The difficulty of Japanese is maybe something like the difficulty of climbing one of the great mountains. Why do people climb Mount Everest? It's already been done. It's not for the view. The view is not all that different. It's for the satisfaction for overcoming the difficult writing. Japanese writing, as you say, has its advantages, but it's also extremely difficult. And if you go into pre-modern Japanese, where there's a combination of different kinds of languages, there's Kambun, which is like Chinese, there are various kinds of classical Japanese, Sorobun, all the rest, all these different styles, which make the language extremely difficult for an outsider. But there are some outsiders who want to climb to the summit. They want to get to the top. It doesn't make any difference if other people have got to the top before. You want to get there anyway. And just for the satisfaction of being able to write a decent paragraph in Japanese, to write in a way the people don't recognize from the handwriting that it's a foreigner who's written it, that it might be written by a Japanese. This kind of success, which is paradoxical, doesn't bring any material gain, is enormously satisfying, as I imagine climbing Mount Everest must be. It's satisfying in itself without relation to anything else. And it happens that learning Japanese, all the different varieties of Japanese, has another side to it. Is that it's not simply a written code. It's a beautiful language. It's a spoken language. It's also a language which has been developed in many ways, different techniques of expression not found in any others. Let me give you an example. In Japan, there's something called engo. Engo are literally related words. They mean that one word has some connection with another. Sometimes the connection is not at all obvious. I'll give you an example which struck me when I read a book called The Coming of the New Deal. It's in English. The airlines instituted a crash program. This was a perfect example of an engo. Why did he say a crash program rather than an emergency program? It's simply because airplanes and crashes have an engo. They have a relationship. The post office urged cancellation of the contract. Why does it say cancellation rather than annulment? It's because their cancellation is what the postman does. And so this combination of related, but not necessarily sequentially related ideas, the Japanese have taken this not as an accident. I asked the author of The Coming of the New Deal if he knew that he had been using engo. He said no. That was the end of the conversation. But it is what the ordinary English speaker will do unconsciously. The Japanese do consciously, using words which have overtones that go with other words. And this is something I think is unique in Japanese. There are other things I might mention, but the Japanese language is a difficult one, but it is worth the difficulty. It is worth making the effort. And it's worth a few people falling off the top of Mount Everest once in a while. It's something that has happened now. In the past, Japanese was a language which was very, very rarely taught anywhere in Europe. A few universities in the whole of all of Europe taught it. It's now everywhere. They have somebody who teaches Japanese. In America, the number of colleges that teach Japanese is enormous. It's the third most popular foreign language. And more people studying Japanese than German. More people studying Japanese than Russian. Sometimes a university which can't afford the luxury of having a professor of Russian and a professor of Japanese choose the professor of Japanese. This suggests that the importance of the language, despite its difficulty, has become known.